All right, so now that we've had a chance to look at the theory, data blocks, and users and linking and all that, and a few practical examples, let's do something that's a little more real world to kind of drive home how we might use scenes in a real scenario. So what I have here is just a kitchen scene. Turn cycles on here, okay? It's just this stuff. And I have it organized into all of these different collections. And let's say the scenario here is that my client needs to see this same kitchen, how it would be lit at night versus the day. All right, that's a perfect use for scenes because we want to share all of the objects. We want to change the lights. So how do we go about doing that? Well, I'm going to make this scene, I'm going to call this daytime, okay? And then I'm going to make a linked copy of this scene and call it night. All right, so here's link copy. There we go. We'll call this night, okay? Now, what do I need to change here? Let's have a look. So if I go back to daytime, I'm going to look and I have, well, there's some lights here. And I want those lights in night as a starting place, okay? But I'm going to probably change and manipulate them or whatever. So I need to separate those into daytime lights and nighttime lights. Well, how I'm going to do that is come to my collection called lights and actually change this to be named daytime lights, okay? So only lights for this scene. Now, from what we learned last time, when I do that, I've changed the name of the collection data block. So when I go to night, it's still called daytime lights. Well, I don't want to manipulate them here because that's manipulating them in both places, and that's not at all what I want. So what I want to do is make duplicate data blocks of all of these lights and their associated light, all these light objects and their associated light data blocks. I want to make duplicates of all of them so I can have separate lighting in the night versus the day. Well, how I can do that is highlight this collection here, and if I right-click, there's an option to duplicate collection. So if I duplicate the collection, okay, now you'll see all the names have .001. These are all unique now. So what I can do, like we learned last time, is in my night scene, I can right-click and unlink the daytime lights collection. I don't want to delete it because if I do that, I'm deleting it in the other scene as well. I'm going to unlink it here. And I'm going to call this one night lights, okay? Like this. And so now if I come to daytime, there we go, I have daytime lights, and if I come to nighttime, I have nighttime lights. So let's start to manipulate this scene a little bit. I'm going to turn these lights off for a moment, and we're going to focus on the world. So I'm in my night scene. I'm going to come to shading, and I'm going to come to world, and I'm going to view this through cycles, and I'm going to view through my camera, okay? So here's my world, and what's going on here? Well, this scene is using daytime world, and you can see here it's got two users. The two users are the two scenes. Night and daytime both use this world. Well, I don't want that because if I change it here, it's going to change it in daytime. So instead what I do is I'm going to click here to make this a single user copy, right? And what that does is I've now made a new world data block with this name, and I can call this nighttime world, okay? And we're not going to get too crazy about what this world is, but now I can adjust this. Let's take it down all the way to like 0.02. Really, really dark. 0.005 maybe, just for something to do, okay? A little bit of light through there. How about 0.0025? Great, doesn't matter. Okay, we've changed this, but in our other scene, let's check that. Not a problem. Other world, and actually you can see here, the minute I pop to that other scene, you can see here this scene, right, shows up as daytime. It's the user of daytime world. If I come back to night, those are now unique data blocks. I can deal with them separately. Great. Okay, so now we're back in light. Let's turn these lights on a second. Okay, fill I don't want at all. That's something to do with there. I just don't care. I do want the lamps though. But the thing is, I only see two of them, and there are three lights. So let's do this. Let's go get our one of these lamp lights. Okay, like this one. And I'm going to hold down Shift D to duplicate it, and then X on my keyboard to constrain it. Now it's freaking out a little bit because we have snapping on, so I'm going to turn that off. Okay, so sorry, now it's GX to move it, so I'm going to make it, you know, in this other light here. Now I did a Shift D duplicate. What did that do? Well, like we learned before, each of these lights currently, each of these light object data blocks is currently using a different light data block. Okay, well I don't want that. I want these to behave as a unit, like we learned last time. Okay. So I'm going to say, actually, I want to highlight these two and then control-click this one in here, or I could shift-click it in the viewport. Weird that that's different, but it is. And I'm going to hit Control-L, link object data. Okay. Now they're all using Area Light 4, which I'm going to rename as, what's this, Island Light? I don't know stuff about kitchens. Island light. Okay, great. Which means if I come back to my point of view of my camera, I can now change any one of these, okay, in my down here in my object data properties, to make all three of them do the same thing. So maybe I want to brighten this up a little bit, something like that. Okay, fine. We're not going to get too crazy about actually designing this. Okay, cool. Good so far. All right, now I want to add some more lights, maybe for this counter back here. So let's look at this. Let's come into our scene. Whoops. And we'll come in right underneath here. All right, I want to make like, you know, those little like spotlight things that are sometimes over countertop. Well, I got a problem here because the geometry is in the way. It's going to be buried behind this light. I want to change that. So I'm going to come to this geometry. I'm going to go to edit mode and select this polygon and just GZ to move it up, okay? Because I just want to make a little space for my lights, okay, let's say. And then undo that. Now, here's what's cool. Because I've done that, let's view this Cubal one is this cabinet that's in cabinet counter fridge, okay? But because I've edited it here, okay, because I needed that light, I've also edited it in daytime, right? The object is independent of the scene that I'm looking at. So I've done it in both places, which is really, really cool. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to select Night Lights collection so that any new objects I make are in that collection. I'm going to hold Shift and right click to put my 3D cursor on this new, you know, this new polygon that I've made. And then I'm going to hold Shift A, and I'm going to grab a new light, and we're going to make a spotlight. Okay. There we go. And we're going to look in here. We're going to make this. It's must be somehow inside there. Hold on. What have I done? What have I done? There we go. Somehow just barely was inside that geometry, so it didn't work. But there we go. Pull it down just a little bit. It's there. It's fine. I'm actually going to move it on the y-axis a little bit to kind of get it maybe more something like that. Okay. It's way too bright, so I don't know, 20. I don't know what these things are in real life, but that's fine. Okay. So I've got that spotlight. That's cool. Well, I want to do the same thing that I did with the lamps, and that I want to make several of these, but I want them all to use the same light data block. Well, I can do that with Alt-D, just like I can with objects. So I have my spotlight here. I'm going to hit Alt-D, X, like this. I got two of them. I can grab both of them now if I want. Alt-D, X. Okay, there we go. Maybe, I don't know, like one more. Alt-D, X. All right. And Alt-D in Blender means duplicate the object, but link it, make it a user of the same object data. So if I look at all these spotlights, indeed, they're all called spot. I'm going to call this counter light, I guess. Counter light, sure. Okay, they're all the same thing. All right, I'm going to go back to my camera. So now I can manipulate these as a unit by clicking on any one of them and manipulating the light. So maybe I want to warm it up a little, something like this, okay. I don't know, like that, okay. And then I want to, I don't know, make it a little less than whatever. I want to make a radius so it's kind of soft. Whatever I want to do, okay. Good enough. All right. So just like that, I've relit this whole scene in a separate scene so that I can kick this out at any time this way. But all of the stuff, all of the objects in this scene are still linked between both. So client can request, hey, there needs to be more chairs in here. Okay, like fine. So I'm going to grab this chair. I'm going to do Alt-D, and then I'm going to do, oh, actually, hold on, let's undo that. It's snapping again, so it's acting weird. I'm going to turn snapping off. So I'm going to say Alt-D, and then I'm going to hold Shift-Z to constrain it so it moves on this plane. It basically moves on the floor in our case, okay? Say, oh, the client wants a chair around the side here. Okay, that's fine. Totally reflected in my night scene as well, right? Okay, great. Cool. Let's go back to the daytime scene. Client says, this is too bare. I want more objects here, okay? I want some decorations in this scene, some stuff. Fine. So I come to collection here. I'm going to make a new collection called, we're going to call it decorations, I guess. Fine. I'm going to click here, and we'll use BlenderKit just for expediency here. So I'm going to shift right click on the counter, because that's where I want to place my new object. And I'll come up here and we'll find, here's a toaster, okay? We'll use this toaster here. I'm going to click on this. It's going to come in. Hey, there's my toaster. Great. Okay, and what else do we want? Over here, maybe in the corner we need like a coffee maker, okay? Let's look at that. can't spell coffee, apparently. Hold on, coffee maker. A little more. What's that? That's kind of cool. Let's, interesting. Let's do that one. Okay, hey, there's a coffee maker. Great. Okay, and over here, maybe we want to, you know, you get the idea. Well, we don't have to do a bunch of these, but we'll say bowl, fruit bowl. Is there such a thing? Let's see. Hey, well, there is. Look at that. Okay. Some apples and maybe some flowers. Let's look at that. That's kind of nice. There we go. Okay, so now we've got some stuff. We kind of prettied up our scene here. I'm going to get rid of this out of my way. Okay. Yep, goodbye. All right, cool. Great. Well, again, let's see what happens here. So we've got a bunch of stuff going on. We made this collection data block called decorations. And then when we did all that stuff, we appended in, or we basically, for all intents and purposes, made new data blocks inside of it, okay? All right, we got this one called decorations. So is that going to show up in our nighttime scene? Well, if we recap from last time, no, it will not. Why? Because this scene, the scene night, is not a user of what? It's not a user of the decorations collection data block. We need to make that the case. So again, we're going to come to our scenes view in the viewport. Okay. We want it to be in night, so we're going to twirl this down a second where we can see decorations. There it is. And we're going to highlight night. So this is going to take us into the night scene. And then we're going to right click on decorations. And we're going to say link to scene, just like we did in our previous video. There we go. And then we're going to make sure we organize this correctly by going to our view layer view, because yeah, it happened to put it in night lights because that's where I was working before. We don't want that. So I'm just going to take this night scene and drag it up to the scene collection, meaning, I'm sorry, not night lights. I'm going to take the decorations and drag them up to scene to get them out of that night lights and down back where they belong. Okay. So now these are, or again, to say explicitly, the night scene is now a user of the decorations collection. And because the decorations collection is a user of all of these other collections and so on down the line, now they all appear together in both scenes, okay? And again, everything is editable, just to drive the point home. If I come and I take, let's make sure I'm looking at the right thing. Oh yeah, toaster. Come here. And I say, oh, that's got to be a little bit bigger. And I want to rotate it on the Z a little bit, whatever, that's fine. Okay, all right, they like that. It's terrible, but they like that better, fine. We go to night. Hey, it's exactly the same, okay? This is the real power of using scenes, and why we went through all that trouble to understand all the stuff in the other two videos is it's a really cool system to keep things that you want together, right? But then manipulate stuff separately to a really wild degree. Like these things ended up being wildly different lighting, right? But it's like, it's no problem to deal with, okay? That's why we do it. You know, you wouldn't necessarily have to have this be drastically different lighting too. You could just make, you know, you could use it to just iterate creatively. You could say this daytime scene and make several copies of it and play with different daytime lightings, like little tweaks to things, little whatever. And then it's really easy to like preview those for a client or kick them out or whatever you want to do. Because they're all separated and they can pick one, and great. If they pick one, you could just delete the other scenes. Again, the scene is just a data block and keep the scene they like. You could do all kinds of possibilities open up by using this system. So hope this has been helpful for you, and thanks for watching. All right, bye-bye.